You're listening to the Sonny Brown Breakdown. Now, it is time to break it down.
Welcome to episode number 36 of the Sonny Brown Breakdown. I'm your host, Sonny Brown, and in this episode, I talk to Christain Graugart. Now, Christain is the founder of BJJ Globetrotters, which is a community that runs seminars and camps around the world and kind of formed to take a stand against Jiu-Jitsu politics and inter-club rivalries, really focused on bringing everyone together and providing a network of gyms around the world that people can go train at with, no issues of, having the wrong patches or things like that. And yeah, it's built up into its own thing now with multiple camps going on every year. And I have a chat to Christain about that, kind of how it started. And we get into other topics like how social recognition drives the need for many accomplishments, their recent issues with the IBJJF, where they inadvertently or maybe deliberately had somehow become the largest affiliation in the world and were banned, I should say, or deregistered from the IBJJF. And we discussed their Beltchecker website, which they'd also, Christain also put up as a, how it could possibly be an alternative, along with some teaching and training tips as well, and just building a friendly culture at your club. Now, I did this interview at the end of last year when BJJ Globetrotters had run their first camp, I believe it was post-corona, in Italy. And it was held in a castle in Italy, and Christain was still there once the camp had finished. And so I was having a chat to him there at the time. A few minutes from the start were lost due to audio issues. And it was basically just a discussion about the protocols they'd had in place for the camp in regards to COVID and the coronavirus. And if you did want to read those, I see they have them now all on their website. There was a situation where they had one of the yoga teachers hadn't got their test in a recent enough time frame, so they had to sleep in their car in the woods until the test came back, the negative for them. And I do make a reference to that at the very end of the podcast, so just so you have some context for that. But in the meantime, hope you enjoy the chat. It was very fun to speak to Christain, lots of laughs. And if you have any feedback, email it through sonnybrown@gmail.com, Sonny Brown Breakdown on Instagram. And if you want to check out more, go to sonnybrown.net. For now, let's go to the podcast. So, Christain, for people who don't know, you started or founded or currently run an organization called the BJJ Globetrotters, which is kind of, runs seminars all around the world, or certainly has and is still with the camp in Italy. And it kind of started out of you're from Denmark, I believe, and you started off training Taekwondo, a bit of Jeet Kune Do from a traditional martial arts background, and got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through some videotapes. And then you kind of went on a big voyage yourself, right? And ended up writing a book about it. Called the BJJ Globetrotter, right?
That's right. You did your homework.
Needed that extra time to do my research. And I've got down here that it was 56 gyms in 140 days, just traveling around the world, living the dream, really. Isn't that what everyone in Jiu-Jitsu would love to do?
Yeah, it was a fun trip.
And of course, if anyone wants to read about that, it is all in the book that you've got all there.
Right.
But springing out of that, the mat surfing culture and everything that you put in place, you started this organization, that BJJ Globetrotters, that really kind of took a step away from the politics in jiu-jitsu. Was that some kind of the impetus behind it to kind of change the structural way that things were set up?
Yeah, I think especially traveling a lot, and back then when I would visit every single gym in every town I walked into, and obviously there's always some tribalism between humans, if we have competing academies or competing football teams or whatever, one group will say something about the other group and the other group will say something about the first group. It's kind of natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to visit so many academies. I realized any place you walk through the door, you might find your new best friend. It doesn't really matter. And there's always some other groups who will dislike that group or whatever. And I just thought it was kind of a shame that this would even exist, because the place you train is usually just where you randomly sign up first. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the best place for everyone to train, or that everyone who picks another place are not nice people, So, and obviously we've probably all heard a bunch of stories about like kind of close-minded places where you can't train anywhere else, or you can't really have friends from some other places. I don't think it's honestly that bad anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's getting more and more open as jiu-jitsu is more available, and like there's not really that many secrets out anymore that you can kind of try to keep in your gym. I think it's definitely different now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. But initially Globetrotters was a bit of like, come on, I just went to every single academy and I didn't meet any idiots, and half of them said the other academy in town was full of idiots, It's like, maybe there's something here, So I thought when we kind of started out with this thing that maybe it could be like a little kind of way for me to change that narrative a little bit. I don't know, but so I think it was natural for me to try and implement that philosophy, or whatever you could say, in the project. And I don't know, maybe it changed a few things, who knows, but it's quite many people seem to think it's a good idea. So
yeah, well, that's like some of the first times I heard about you was people mentioning that you guys were kind of free thinkers and stuff, and and I'm like, okay,
all thinkers, right? It's not really like,
well,
I don't know.
I guess coming from a traditional martial arts background, and especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where the hierarchy is such an ingrained part of the culture with, belt systems, affiliations, rankings, it does seem to break away from the norm a bit. I mean, obviously things have changed. I think especially with everyone putting out instructionals now, the idea that you're getting your information from one source is just impossible to maintain. But
right.
Sorry, go on.
That's right. It might also just be more of a Brazilian culture, and then jiu-jitsu has started to exit Brazil quite a lot, and maybe that changes things a bit. So I mean, we don't see much of that hardcore Brazilian Creante kind of thing anymore, So
it could be. And so with your own ranking journey, I guess I was interested to learn that you originally got your blue belt from Matt Thornton over at SBG.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's an interesting character himself. So did he kind of, steer you in any direction early on in your journey?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was, I think my views on things might have been different had I started going to Rio and kind of sign up with some affiliation there. And I think definitely, I just randomly ran into this guy, Matt. Someone hosted him for a seminar in Denmark, but when he was a brown belt, and it was like, oh my God, there's a brown belt in the country, and like everybody showed up. And I was like, this is great. I mean, here's someone who actually knows something about what we're trying to learn, because we're pretty much just trying to, kick each other in the head with a scooter helmet. And like, goddamn, some people actually train like actual MMA, and they have some technique, and wow, they know about wrestling. It's like, it's amazing, So I was like, I'll go there for a few weeks and learn something. And I think, definitely like hippies from Portland, Oregon, like are just a different mentality than going to Brazil, to learn this stuff. So that have a lot, and through that very quickly I got involved with Chris Haueter, who's obviously very much pulling in the different direction in terms of like training philosophy, and he's been a huge influence on me. His tapes were some of the first I ever saw. His street fighting, jiu-jitsu, t-shirt chokes, kind of just really thinking out of the box quite a lot. And I think that fit my mentality as well. I like to kind of, from myself at least, try to challenge like what people conceive as normal. And I think Chris Haueter was definitely like, he fit right in with that. So
yeah, definitely. He definitely is another character for sure.
Yep.
So I know, like, when you're traveling around, you had the Genki Sudo patch, "We Are All One." on your knee. And Genki Sudo is one of my heroes of just, that guy is just awesome. I mean, now he's a politician doing his dance videos and writing books.
Quit fighting to become a dancer. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just, it is. But I do wonder, like you're saying, you know, where you want to kind of break out of something maybe of what's normal, and especially when we're talking about like that us versus them mentality in jiu-jitsu, or just, you know, in tribalism in humans in general. Do you think, you know, that kind of polarity is necessary, or do you think it can be obliterated?
That's a good question. I think it's just a quick note on Genki Sudo first.
Please.
I'd be another fan. I think he fits into with kind of what attracted me to this, because he was really someone who was always thinking out of the box, even in the ring. You know, the way he was fighting was like mind blowing. He was just doing things that were so far from what was conventionally conceived as being what you're supposed to do if you want to fight someone.
Yep.
And he pulled off the craziest shit in Pride and all the Japanese shows, and I think maybe that's also how that attracted me as someone that I looked up to, because I mean, also for those of us who've grown up in jiu-jitsu way before IBJJF was style competition was the norm, then I guess, I mean, we just trained whatever we could, and whatever competition rules said, okay, that's what we go for. If it's with like slamming or striking or walls or wrestling, or I think that really shaped the way I train and also how I like to approach grappling. And someone like Genki Sudo, obviously, he was like the king of pulling off weird shit and then just absolutely making it work.
And no one's come close.
No one's come close, really. I mean, now and then you see someone pull off one thing, but there's so much on the line now. I mean, he had a lot on the line back then too. There was the biggest shows ever, but still. Yeah. And also Sakuraba was kind of the same style. They all came from the pro wrestling, and I think that was super interesting. I love to try and do these things in training, you know, and also to try and think a little bit differently about what you can actually do, you know, because very, very quickly in jiu-jitsu you get stuck in like a certain box. So always it's like jab cross hook, you know, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And then someone comes wearing a fucking like satin kung fu suit and then just do like drunken boxing and actually pulls it off in MMA. Amazing.
Yeah, he's truly one of a kind.
What was the question? Do we need tribalism? Do we need that? I think it's yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no way around it, and it's not necessarily like a bad thing, you know. Like hierarchy and tribalism. I think it's instinctual and very natural. You just see anything, like any other sport, you know, football fans or hooligans or anything. It's like even a corporate world, you know, this tribalism, corporation versus corporation. It's completely normal, and it's very human and very instinctual. And I think it's necessary for our existence and survival. Obviously, maybe a few million years ago, this was more necessary for us to stick with our group, so we could eat and not die, you know, right away. But I also think I don't think it's a bad thing. And also, you say like hierarchy and belts and all that stuff. I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing. It's very healthy for many people, but I think it's also healthy to take a step back and see it for what it is sometimes, and also sometimes it can be used in like in a bad way, so to say. I mean, the worst is that I think a very, very common mechanism of this is that and what I've seen a lot, and this goes hand in hand with all the jiu-jitsu politics, is sometimes if you build a relationship based on one person wanting something from another person very much, I don't think that's healthy. And these relationships are very easy to build in jiu-jitsu, because very often, you know, we all sign up for this group of monkeys, and there's a hierarchy, and we can climb it through hard work as long as we stay in good standing with the monkey at the top. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. But sometimes, you know, that monkey at the top is not necessarily a nice person. And sometimes people even stay in that relationship because they really want that thing, that recognition from the monkey at the top. And that's not healthy, you know. People stay in abusive relationships for years and years because they want something from the other person, which is obviously social recognition in the form of a belt color.
Yeah, and who doesn't want a bit of social recognition? I mean,
we that's what we all thrive for. I mean, that's what humans will do anything for it. It's crazy when you think about it, no? Like we will not see our kids grow up so we can have the right job and make enough money to live the right place and drive the right car and wear the right clothes. And then you just have to put your kids in some kind of institution most of your life so you don't see them grow up. But that's how much we want it, you know?
Yep.
I mean, even, I'm not saying people go to war for social recognition. They do not do that. But sometimes it's kind of, if you might, okay, you go and probably die, or if you survive, then you've got PTSD for the rest of your life because we put you in some horrible things. But at least the other monkeys in the society will see you as a hero forever. And that's like a little, you know, yeah, at least I'm a hero, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of wild, you know, that you can actually make people risk their lives for something. I mean, I'm very anti-war and military, obviously, and that some people will definitely disagree on that. But it's just interesting how like medals or titles or belts and all these things, like they can make humans do some quite wild things, you know.
Very wild things indeed. And I mean, the idea of your name will live on forever in the annals of history if you achieve something truly great. I mean, that's driven a lot of people to do some great things, but some great evils as well. And I mean, I'm thinking,
sure.
Like back in, you know, the pharaohs, once some of the disgraced pharaohs or whatever, when they would take over, they'd scratch their names off all the hieroglyphs around, you know, they're just trying to erase them from history. That was the ultimate kind of insult with people. And I guess there is that longing to be, you know, do something worth remembering, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't say it's a bad thing. I just say I think it's healthy to see it for what it is. You know?
Yeah.
And belts are the exact same. There's no difference. I mean, it's in competitions and medals. Imagine competitions with no podium pictures. Like, that's literally what we compete for. That's like to post that. That's to post that picture of the podium so people can see that you won up in the monkey hierarchy. You know, like what is the purpose of a medal? It has only one purpose. Literally one purpose is that for anyone who did not see that you win, you can show them later, right? It's like a proof that you won up. And the same with the Jiu-Jitsu belt. Why would you have to wear it every day? Because just in case someone was not there for the promotion, then now they know this is where you stand, right?
Yeah.
Why did they raise the hand of the winner in a competition? They know who won. I mean, come on, it's right there on the computer, you know? It's literally just like, monkey up, everyone, look at this guy. Monkey +1. And that's when I think it gets really interesting to step back and kind of see it for what it is. I will still indulge in it. I mean, if when I was promoted in jiu-jitsu, it still felt like a real accomplishment, you know? Or if I win a competition and I have a medal, you know, it's like, I have to show this to everyone. But that's really like the monkey inside of me who needs to show, just to make sure that you know that I'm now allowed to eat before you. You know?
Yeah, hey, I'm guilty of it. I'll post it. If I get gold at the next competition, I'm still putting it up, I'll tell you.
Imagine a competition with no medals and no podium pictures.
See, you probably wouldn't sell as many tickets either as a promoter. It's a terrible idea.
No. Hey, you know these kind of obstacle runs where they get all muddy and everything?
Yeah, Tough Mudder we've got out here.
Imagine if no cameras were allowed. You'd be so pissed at getting so muddy and dirty. I was like, what the fuck is the point if I can't show people that I've been struggling in mud?
Yeah, you don't want to go home, have a shower, and then tell your friends down at the pub that you were crawling through mud all day. What's the point?
It's like nobody wants to do that.
No, that sounds like an awful idea. Why did you crawl through mud? Like, that's not
when you look at it like that, it's actually really fucking stupid, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to impress any of my friends with a crawling through mud story. They wouldn't want to hear it, but yeah.
Anyway, that's the mechanic that is healthy to teach yourself about what it actually is that you're attracted to. And if that makes you feel good, wonderful. And I think that makes most people feel good. Even I assume being part of a hooligan group and fighting other hooligans on the street, that makes people feel good. But it's also important to I think it's healthy to take that step back and see it for what it is. And especially in jiu-jitsu, if this thing kind of keeps you or someone else in an unhealthy relationship. With someone.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I think the idea of of that hierarchy is kind of like the instructors, like they do need to have the boundaries with students as well, right? They have to, there has to be clear that there kind of has to be that hierarchy maybe for boundaries where it's like, no, I'm the instructor. This is not just a kind of, I don't know. It's not just 100% friendship relationship, because then at some stage I might have to tell you to, I might have to kick you out of the gym if you do something. If you do something abhorrent, I might have to tell you to leave, and I don't want to not do that because of damage my friendship with you. Does that make,
but if you were just friends and and they did something bad enough to kick them out, I mean, would you not be able to do that? I think so.
You still should, but it'd be easier if...
I mean, it should not really, right?
What do you mean? Sorry?
I mean, it shouldn't really change anything if you're friends or not. That if this person, let's go and assault someone on the street, I would still think true. That be in a position to tell them that you probably should not train here anymore.
That's true. It shouldn't really make a difference in that case, should it? So what about even just then teaching people stuff and having them pay proper attention and respect that your time that you're giving them? And, my friends, it could be cultural in Australia, but we, bust each other's chops all the time and, rag on each other, and that's fun. But if I'm running a business and I got new students coming in and I need to put something on, make them listen and pay attention, and my good friends are busting my chops all the time from either side, that could cause a problem, maybe?
I don't think so, to be honest. It might be a no.
All right. Scratch that.
There are different kind of what do you say? Intensities of this, obviously.
Yeah.
On one side, you have, I've heard instructors tell, or even people tell me as I came up, and it's like, when you cannot be friends with your students. Don't try to be friends with them. You have to keep like a very strict, you're the master, they're the student kind of thing, right? I always found that to be bullshit, to be honest. But that will definitely work for some people. And some people thrive more in an environment where they're told exactly what to do and where they're told to be shut up. I guess if you're attracted to being like, let's say in the military or the corporate world or something, then definitely you thrive in that environment. And that's not a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily the solution for everyone. I mean, I've never just from a personal point of view, and this might also be because I'm just a Scandinavian hippie, but I've never had any other relationship with my students than just being friends, to be honest. Sure. And if you're friends, they will also respect that they should not ruin your business by being idiots,
That's true.
But honestly, I cannot say I have any sort of different relationship with my jiu-jitsu students that I have with my friends from school.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got some pretty wild friends from school that definitely couldn't come into the gym.
I would still tell them, go. I mean, okay, yeah, I don't know. But honestly, no, I don't have a different relationship. If it's just mutual respect. I don't need to instate a higher status just to make them listen. If they can't listen, they wouldn't train there anyway. I mean, if I would have to tell them to shut up, then I was like, come on.
Yeah. Maybe it could just be cultural. I'm thinking in Australian slang, we might call them. I got a couple of friends who are loose units,
right?
Wild, loose cannons, maybe.
Yeah, I mean and I totally recognize that in many of my friends, and we can also train together and have a good time without. I mean, but yeah, I don't know.
No, that's
I think all kind of variations of this is possible, and people get attracted to different things. Some people need 100% control to behave. Other people need no control to behave well, and some people need something in between. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just, again, healthy to take a step back and see sometimes maybe you could get stuck in a bad relationship because of this power kind of difference in the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely important. Just to then, jokes aside, if someone does find themselves in a bad situation, to have that perspective where they can see an option out of it, right? Just to know that even though they've signed up for something, there are always alternatives that could present them better solutions than continuing to put themselves through grief.
Yeah, and then it gets wrapped into stuff like honor and loyalty and team spirit and we're family and all these things, and those are always like red flags for me. Because if you have to do say that to keep your friends around, then something is not right usually. Or there's some sort of level of insecurity of losing your business or whatever, or probably way more just losing your status. Because if someone leaves you're the instructor, then that's a monkey down. That's monkey minus 1 point, because they're like, they did not recognize you as the authority that you put yourself in to be here. So
I mean, that's definitely something that I find interesting, because there's so much of the Western idea of martial arts is that old school tradition, honor, respect, which of course are valuable attributes for someone to have, but they can certainly also easily be abused. And I've joked before that I think in this day and age with all these instructionals, how long is it going to be till someone gets called a creonche for buying a Danaher instructional or something? And,
online creonche.
Online creonche. I mean, you can only buy instructionals from our affiliation or something. It's got to be,
Yeah, it's a desperate business model, to be honest. No?
Yeah. And so, I mean, you kind of did shake up that business model then a bit, and maybe ruffled a few feathers with the IBJJF, with your registering of people and getting, kind of setting up the BJJ Globetrotters affiliation, basically, which went through a process of getting deregistered this year. Mm-hmm. Is that, in looking back on that now, is that all done and dusted? There's nothing else that can happen with that? And if so, what are your reflections on it? Or if not, what do you think of it going forward?
I think it is what it is. They don't really communicate, and I gave it a shot, but they're just a private company. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and I don't really have anything to say there.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. I mean, it's just one competition organizer. They also kind of pretend to be like an official federation of the sport, and they're really, really good at it. They put on the best competition circuit, hands down, and they have made the best rule set probably. And I mean, they are the best and most professional. So they kind of claim that kind of position as a
top monkey
in the group, or organizing body. And if you keep saying it enough times, then people will believe it. And but I mean, there's not much to do. Obviously we kind of I wouldn't say manipulated the system, but we definitely didn't like stand in line and follow every single whatever. It's like,
it didn't seem like it was part of their plan.
No, definitely not. And it is what it is. It's obviously, I just think their business model is like their whole like belt verification certification business model is kind of like a dinosaur now. I mean, it might have made sense 25 years ago, but back when you had to go to the Amazon to learn jiu-jitsu or something.
Yeah.
I think they're holding on to a way of controlling the hierarchy that is just not gonna hold water in the long run. So, and obviously Globetrotters started at just me signing up for the Europeans, and I didn't have a name, so we called it Globetrotters. And someone else was like, "Hey, I can't sign up. Can I sign up with you?" I'm like, sure, of course. Some of my friends, and then I met a ton of people traveling, and they all like, "Yeah, of course you can sign up. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me." And that kind of took off, and then 750 academies got involved, and like a lot of people, and it probably grew more than they had imagined, and then it would, and then they were, you're not doing the best for the sport, so you're out, and that is what it is. There's really nothing I can do about it, and just kind of move on.
Yeah, and I guess one way of moving on then is you've set up beltchecker.com, which I've signed up for, and I mean that's an interesting kind of model for an alternative way to kind of verify people's ranking. That still kind of does work on that social recognition, social bonds. As you need to sign up, and then people need to vouch then for your credibility to be accepted. How's that coming?
Well, it's built 100% on kind of exploiting human urge for social recognition.
Yeah.
Once it's just like turn that up to 11. But that's usually what works. It's no different than Instagram or Facebook. Or why is Instagram a success? Why do people want to keep uploading pictures from their lives? That's really boring. It's just all based on social recognition. Again, not necessarily a bad or a good thing, but it can be used for some interesting things for sure. And actually, Beltchecker was made because actually to do things right for the IBJJF, I would say, because we run an affiliation, the largest jiu-jitsu affiliation in the world. It's still kind of weird to say, but I guess it is, you know, bigger than Gracie Barra actually, and the members can compete, you know, and use the name just like in any other affiliation. And of course, it's completely normal. And if they want to compete with the IBJJF, we sign their forms like any affiliation will do. And usually some guy at the top who sits and signs all the forms. So we did that. It's not really that many people, to be honest. It's like maybe a few hundred over 7 years or something. But in the beginning, we didn't check that much. It's like, fuck it, just sign for everyone. And then there's like one, I got called out on the MMA Underground. Oof. Hey, Christian Graugart, there's someone competing for the Globetrotters as a purple belt, but he's really a blue belt, right? Something like, they didn't even email me directly, but it was obviously like, we nailed them. So some guy had faked it. I was like, okay, we just had him erased, and that was it. And then we started to like check on ranks, you know, like if you email us, say, hey, I'm a member of the Globetrotters, can I compete? Like, sure, just send us some pictures of your promotion or blah, blah, blah. And then later on, we started for black belts. We asked people to have 5 other black belts verify them on Facebook. So I asked 5 black belts they knew to message us on Facebook, and then we checked all those 5 profiles to see. You can always tell if people are training jiu-jitsu because they have jiu-jitsu pictures everywhere in their profiles. Like no exceptions, right? Yeah. So that's how we checked. That's how we checked the black belts. We had everyone, and brown belts. We had like other people verify them or vouch for them, so that we were sure that nobody came and said they're a black belt. And so we actually asked 5 people to do that. And with all this kind of, I think, brewing in my mind, and I used to do software development when I was younger, and I was just kind of like, I had the idea to do this another project, and like we could automate this thing if people sign up and they all kind of vote for each other. Then, because I had an assistant who was working several hours a day just checking people, like doing background checks on their ranks, you know? And it started to become quite a lot of work. And we can automate this if we build like a kind of an online community where people can sign up and then they get verified. We make sure they have the right name and the right face on the profile, and then if they're verified, they can vote for others, and you know, and that turned into Beltchecker, so that we just automate that entire process of checking if a member was actually verified. And in this, to verify a black belt, you need 10 black belts to vote for you, 10 verified black belts, that is. So we actually made it even more hardcore to verify your belt before we would sign them for a competition. And of course, I think IBJJF is purposely blurring the line, but there is a very big distinction between signing a form for someone to compete and then promoting someone. I mean, those are 2 distinct things. But there is a blurred line in that, like, oh, you signed the form, so you now must have promoted this person, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of part of the argument of why we did something wrong, because people say, oh, they just promoted anyone, like just signed their promotion forms, but we actually don't ever promote anyone. So anyway, who gives a shit? So Beltchecker was really just like a way to automate this workload, you know? Yeah. Okay. Which is not. I've been doing a lot of workshops and talks at the camps about social recognition and about like creating things and ideas, and this was just another thing that came out of it. It's like, if I can kind of automate this process and kind of tap into the whole social recognition like urge that we have, and then maybe this could kind of become something that would make everything easier for us. And it's been quite right, I would say. I mean, it just really took off, and we're currently at 15,000 registered users in 10 months. So, and we do no advertisement, really, almost nothing, and it's just kind of self-sustainable, and it keeps growing every single day. So it works really well, and people use it, and it's proven its worth many times already. Like, it's not like obviously people love to hate something like that, and they will have a lot of arguments why it's shit. But at the end of the day, it's actually worked really well, you know. And people get offended if you tell them that you should go and verify your belt, because that's like why do I need to verify this? Because it's really important to me that everybody, of course, knows that I'm a real 3-star stripe purple belt, you know. It's like, why should I go through the work to verify that online, you know? And it's not like there's a ton of fake belts out there, but I mean, they will probably not even ever sign up for it, but actually a few people did, and then they got caught by the system and downvoted, and then now they're forever marked on the site. So there's like a handful of things that were, in terms of checking belts, Beltchecker has worked incredibly well, actually. So it's quite an interesting project, and some more people got involved, and we have a few developers, and we do it. It's all free, completely free to use, and it funds itself by we do like certificates and ID cards for verified profiles, and that kind of pays the server cost at the moment. So it's a really interesting project. Obviously, it's kind of a crowdfunded, crowdsourced alternative, community-based alternative to what the IBJJF is doing. So yeah,
I like it.
It's on in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I still plan on. I'll get the certificate one day. I think, and it took me a while to get the registered, but if I've gone through the hassle, I want the something to show for it, right?
Yeah, you want to put that on social media.
That's it.
People have to put an effort to contribute to the site. Otherwise they can't really, get anything out of it. And people are like, oh, why do I have to do all this shit? And I have to upload a picture of myself and like all this stuff. But if we don't contribute, then we cannot claim that it's a trustworthy database, And if people don't want to contribute, that's fine. But then they can't be part of the system. You can have no weight on your votes if you don't build a proper profile that people trust. So.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess that, the creating a profile that people trust, or just getting people to trust you in general. And one thing that struck me about your traveling is it's kind of, you were bringing forth that idea of, but you go into the match, you never know who, you could be meeting someone who's your new best friend or something. And so I want to kind of ask you then, how, what would your tips be for someone to make friends? How do you make a good friend just walking into a new environment? How do you know if someone is going to be your friend?
That's a good question. You got to take them for a date, or something. Take them bowling or something.
But you're doing jiu-jitsu, right? So slap bump, you're gonna choke, and you choke each other out. How do you make friends doing that? It's
actually an interesting question. How do you make friends as a grown-up? Like, it's really difficult,
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu helps quite a lot. But let's say you don't have sports or something. Oh my God, it's so fucking complicated. It's not like you have like one friend from school and he knows someone, and I don't know, you take them bowling or something. I don't know how to do that.
Is there a lot of bowling in Denmark? Is that the?
I don't know. Don't be so prejudiced for Danish people. Well, I guess it's individual. Like, I mean, for me, I try to keep an open mind towards every person I meet. That helps me a lot. Like, especially traveling and meeting so many people, I realized that no matter where I would go, or like no matter what belt anyone would have, they could potentially, become a good friend and someone that I would like to hang out with or like know for many years. And the key for me has always been to treat every person I meet as a potential next best friend. That's what I do. So every time I meet someone new, I just imagine we do cool stuff together. Like go on a holiday somewhere.
Well, that's as you do a lot, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I do. And Jiu-Jitsu makes it easy, because you break the physical barrier kind of quickly. And I mean, I'm not advertising anything here, but for myself personally, the camps we do has become like giving me a socially overwhelming life. It's I think if I did not have this in my life, I would probably have like one or two friends from school that I would talk to. But now it's just countless of people that I really enjoy being around. So yeah, I think it's very much about having an open mind towards anyone you meet. That's because you never know who could change your life.
Yeah. So yeah, just I guess.
And that, not being afraid of going to train in another club, or when you go traveling, go somewhere else. You never fucking know. It's pretty random where people sign up for jiu-jitsu. So
yep,
you can't really judge them on the logo on their gi. It's very easy to do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so then I guess. Yeah, so you've done this traveling, you're making these friends, and then you're coming back and teaching jiu-jitsu. What kind of lessons then has all this experience given you in actually teaching jiu-jitsu to a room full of people?
I feel like I learned so much other than jiu-jitsu, you know?
Yeah. Well, that is probably the most important part in teaching a room full of people, is actually getting people engaged and listening and wanting to actually pay attention to whatever it is you're trying to get across. And so what were there lessons that help you do that?
Yeah, again, it's individual, but I always just treat my jiu-jitsu class or gym as my personal social club.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one advice I always give people when they want to start a new place. Just imagine it's just your way of creating a social club for yourself, right? That's literally what I do. It's just like, oh, someone walks through the door. Oh, here's a new one. Do you want to go out, or like, what do we do next week? Let's fly to somewhere and compete. That's not what we do anymore, but can't really do that right now. But
yeah,
that's literally just what I've been doing. It's just like treat it as like whoever wants to join in, let's do something, and then it can all kind of. That's what I've been doing. I just like everything kind of evolves around training in a way, but if you train together, you can also travel together. You know, go to competitions together. That's pretty fun. You know, that's a good excuse to travel with your friends for a weekend. That's kind of the best part of jiu-jitsu, is just traveling with your friends somewhere, you know, you get that experience together. And you can also go out to eat quite a lot because you are kind of on the same diet usually. If you compete, then it's even more that's more relevant, you know, like, or if you all try to go up one weight class or something, it's pretty fun. You could go to buffets all the time back last year, you know. And like if there's UFC, you can invite people over and you can watch the fights or something. I mean, it's literally just building a social club. And then if people like to be part of that, then they also want to train all the time. And that's pretty much how my entire career has been. Just like build my own social club and do fun things. And then training kind of follows along. And teaching is easy because you just make the training environment interesting, and then people just hang around, and then they usually get better. Eh?
Yeah, well, you got to keep turning up to get better, and if it's fun when you turn up, that makes it more enticing, right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like actual technical aspects of teaching, I just I don't know. I don't feel like I have any like authority in that. Like really, I try to make it fun, and I try to make it a game, and I try to make it simple. And I like jiu-jitsu to be universal. I like to wrestle standing up on the ground, gi, no gi, with strikes, with obstacles, with like everything. That's I think that also comes from, again, having like more of a vintage upbringing in jiu-jitsu, where there was everyone who trained jiu-jitsu was watching like Pride and bum fights and all these things, you know. Like, oh,
I haven't thought of bum fights in a while.
I better know how to wrestle if there's a bush or a fence, you know, like, or if it's in a boxing ring, you know. I better know how to not get taken down in a bush, you know. Those are things those were real questions back then, you know. So,
yeah, that bum fights was wild. That was something else.
I don't know if that's still exists, but yeah. That was,
yeah, no, I get you. It's definitely different now. Where I was teaching a dope mount pass the other night, and I was about to go. This is one of BJ Penn's greatest passes, like used to. And then I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my! Are they going to know BJ Penn now if I say it? Like, yikes! But you know, it's just that's just the way things are. So, but you say you didn't have too much else, but I've watched some of your seminars that you've done at BJJ Globetrotters, and I've found them a good, simple kind of distillation of many fundamental principles or concepts in jiu-jitsu. Like, I think it was there's one where you talk about posture a lot, talking about like head over hips, or and just focusing on that to not get swept, and other ones on fundamental drills of just, you know, getting in between space, you know, elbow knee connection and stuff like that. Yeah. And I like the way that you've put it together and just kind of simplified it down and just made it kind of easy, which I think makes it more fun, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it also definitely comes from, I think a key to improving jiu-jitsu is getting exposed to a lot of different games. That's absolutely key, you know. People can do that through competition. It's just kind of difficult to kind of gather up enough minutes in competition, and it's really expensive to get like let's say 300 competition minutes, that will take you years and a ton of money. You know?
Yeah.
You can also do it by training in other academies or traveling. And that's really key because there's no way you can ever learn everything in jiu-jitsu. Like no matter how much you studied the game, there's always like just a ton of stuff that you'll never know. But to expose to a lot of things that I think that's important, and at least that's helped me a lot, and to kind of try to find common denominators of what I need to look for in terms of defending or attacking. And the more I can find common denominators in things, the easier it's going to be for me to deal with stuff I don't know, because I cannot follow jiu-jitsu. I don't study jiu-jitsu anymore. I mean, I'm just a hobbyist dad training like 3 times a week. You know, there's no competitions anywhere nearby where I live, and I still enjoy it immensely every time. But I kind of have to try and find the common denominators. And what helped me a lot was obviously traveling, rolling with like thousands and thousands of people, and also I competed quite a lot for many years, back when quite a lot was like once a month, when that was all the competitions we could do. And also the camps are great for me, because at every big camp I have like 300 people to roll with, and like 30, 40, 50 black belts sometimes, and you get exposed to a lot of stuff, and that's really been key for me. And being exposed to, I just see for myself simple little things that I try to do when I roll, and that's kind of also what I teach. And it's good and bad, because I can probably, everything I teach, I can probably like explain that in 10 minutes. You know, that's like everything I teach in jiu-jitsu. And I don't want, and I could also go and every day teach like 5 new techniques. That looks pretty cool. That'd be very easy for me, but it wouldn't do anything really. I mean, the jiu-jitsu should be taught as a sport, not as a, I don't know, just read the encyclopedia from page 1, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do a lot. It's just kind of do little adjustments and tell people like pointers, and then let them play the game, and then give them a few more pointers. And that's what we do, is we just play the game. And people are still kind of attracted to the oh, here's someone who can show me 20 things I've never seen before, but it's really not very useful. I mean, if you give people an environment where they like to be, and they have fun playing the game, and they build strong fundamentals, then they will do the studying themselves usually, and they will build their own game through competition or
that's
and beat me one day, you know? Any other sports.
What was that last bit? Sorry.
And I say, and then beat the instructor one day, like any other sport, you know? Or it should be.
Well,
there's a reason why the average age of let's say like Premier League football players is like 23. There's a very good reason. I mean, they don't have 7 degrees on their black belts, but they will beat any 7-degree black belt in football, you know?
Yeah. So. And that's, I think jiu-jitsu is possibly unique in where it is expected that the kind of instructors keep rolling and putting it on the student, you know, beating the students consistently night in, night out. That I don't like.
You really want to get me started on that one?
I don't know. From a personal thing, I've like, I know when I've gone to train at boxing gyms and do boxing, and like I've never, like, all the boxing trainers sit on the side and hold pads and yell advice, which is fine. That's the culture. But it's just, that's so far removed from jiu-jitsu, where if anyone in jiu-jitsu tried to do that, they would, and maybe rightfully so, get called, you know, they don't know what they're talking about or something, you know, they could be a con artist maybe. It certainly keeps the instructor some honest, you know if they know what they're talking about or not, but it does seem different.
Well, and I think there's one thing and one thing only that keeps this going in jiu-jitsu that is very different from other sports, is that we have invented degrees on black belts, which is absolute bullshit, if I should say so, in my opinion. It's like in jiu-jitsu we have 2 very distinct promotion systems, like skill rank levels, and the one, we have 2 very, very different ones. The one is the colored belts, which is what we all like brag about. Jiu-jitsu is real, you know, you get the belts and you actually have the skill. True. Because this is like based on competition, or at least in comparison with competing athletes, you know. You say, okay, this guy is a purple belt because he can hang with competitive purple belts, you know. That's usually how it works, and that's totally fine. And then that's like a pyramid, you know. You get to the top. Problem is, at some point the top of the pyramid just becomes too wide, you know. There's just too many fucking black belts on the top. What do we do? How do we keep our affiliation business and our seminar business going? We build another pyramid on top, but it cannot be based on skill because we're getting older, so it's purely based on time. And it's like worse than any traditional martial arts. At least like in karate, you have to do like a kata or something for your 6th degree, you know? And we're all just making fun of like 7-degree black belt karate, something on Reddit. We're all just making fun of it. But it's even worse in jiu-jitsu because it's only based on staying alive. Wait, it's based on staying alive and maintaining relationship with someone who's higher than you in the hierarchy. And this can be a person or it can be IBJJF. And until now also a Beltchecker. But that's the only thing you need. You just need to stay alive and stay in a relationship. That's all you have to do, right? And that's kind of weird, you know, because then you see someone, I mean, us who's been doing this for a while, we know that we don't just get exponentially better with age, you know. But you have some more like beginners in the sport, and they see like a 7-degree black belt. They're like, oh, I guess he can kick your ass, huh? I know he's 80, but I'm sure he could just choke you out, right? Because he's got this weird symbol that of him being like better than the 25-year-old athlete who competed at the world's black belt, you know. But in reality, he just stayed alive long enough, huh? And I think that's absolute like. That's why if you want to be a 5th-degree ninja, you have to dodge a sword with your eyes closed. Right? What do you have to do to be a 5th-degree jiu-jitsu black belt, which is equivalent in terms of respect in the sport? It's like all you have to do is stay alive for like 19 years. That's it.
That's true. That's a long time. So I'm going to play devil's advocate and say maybe it's not just staying alive. Maybe it's important that you don't quit. You know, it's that time that
there's no one to check if you're training.
Did I not even check that? Is there not?
No.
Okay. All right.
I could have stopped training when I was I could stop training now, and in 3 years I could get another degree.
Okay.
Nobody checked.
Yeah. All right. That's
all you have to do is to stay alive. 1. And 2, you have to maintain a relationship with someone who is in this fantasy world of ours can kind of give you this recognition. It can be someone who's higher in the hierarchy, or it can be the IBJJF. Because if you broke your relationship with someone with your instructor, which is kind of normal, there is a reason why there are thousands of affiliations. It started with just one. Remember, like 1 or 2. Like they all broke out from each other at some point, you know?
Yeah.
And how many times have we heard, oh, I'm just going to get my black belt, then I'm out, you know? And then it's like, okay, but then it becomes, oh, I just need my 2nd degree so I can promote black belts, then I'm out, you know? It's funny because it's true. That's literally like that's what keeps unhealthy relationships going, you know? It's like they need that recognition so they themselves can give recognition. But you can also, if you lost the relationship with your instructor, you can pay the IBJJF. It's $400 for the first time, I believe, and then $150 after. And then as long as you are registered black belt with the IBJJF, you can then have your degrees promoted by the IBJJF. No instructor needed, no signature needed. So you just need the relationship with the instructor or with the IBJJF, and then you're good to go. Then you can keep climbing that ladder. And they will send you a very official looking certificate of your IBJJF black belt XX degree. Nothing required, just payment, like a first aid course or something, like a referee course. You just need to basically be in their business, and then they will promote you. And that's online promotion for money. That's the worst thing you can ever do in jiu-jitsu. And the IBJJF is offering that.
Well, I'm not going to defend that. I guess that's none of my devil's advocates have worked so far.
So I just asked him out of curiosity. So if you were promoting me right now, because I don't have any, I could definitely ask a friend who is like a 3rd whatever degree to sign the form. I'll just ask someone to do it. But there's like, no, since you have been a paying black belt for how many years? 6 years or something? 5 years? I don't know. No, 9 years, 8 years. Since you have been a paying black belt for 8 years with the IBJJF, I kept it going because so my friends could compete. They could then promote me right there on the spot to 2nd degree black belt. I just have to pay them $400, and no questions asked. They didn't check if I've been training or not or anything.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, what is the issue here? It's obviously it's kind of a weird thing. Like I don't subscribe to black belt degrees. I felt like when that red bar finally fell off my belt, I was so happy. I felt free. I never have to worry about this anymore. I don't subscribe to it. I also think it's important to stay honest and not have some kind of try to symbolize to people around me that I'm better than them because I've been a black belt for 10 years, even though they're like young black belts who will absolutely wipe the floor with me.
No doubt.
And again, I think that's in a way, and I mean, I know I'm a bit extreme about that. It's about not building that dishonest relationship with someone where they think that where I signal to them that I'm better. I might have more experience, obviously, but if we all brag that jiu-jitsu belts are about real skills, So anyway, that's just me. But that's why with Beltchecker, we make it possible that if the community approves that you're a black belt at a certain date, everybody votes for that. Yeah. And they say, yes, this is true. Then every X number of years, as is defined by one kind of agreement of how many years it takes per belt, then you can go on Beltchecker and claim your degrees on your black belt.
Yeah, okay. That's 3 years, not
3 years.
Not that I'm counting, I don't care about the degrees, but I'm due my first the end of this year. But I'm not thinking about it at all.
It's almost time for you to reshare like the memory on Facebook of when you guys promote black belt, and then you say, "Oh, I can't believe it's almost been 3 years." Tag Professor. You've always been a big inspiration for me. Just a little reminder in case he didn't look at his calendar.
Just putting it out there. No, I've been very lucky with my coach. He's an old punk rocker, and he's very cool. But
anyway, I think this is really interesting, and obviously this whole Beltchecker allowing people to claim the black belt degrees, it was in a way controversial, but if you look at the way IBJJF is doing this, absolutely, I mean, I don't think there's a single argument against it, but it's also based on community approval. If people don't approve with this, they could just downvote it, and then these people would not be able to claim the ranks, and they would have disputed ranks on their public profiles. But so far, people approve of it, and there's actually quite a handful of black belts who are claiming time-based degrees through Beltchecker.
Okay.
And then they can get a certificate, and literally that is the exact same as people do with the IBJJF. There's literally no difference. The only difference is that this is community verified, and the other is verified by a company.
Yeah. So I was going to say it's more transparent, I guess.
If we just agree that it's based just on time and nothing else, then that's what people agree on. Then of course I know it's controversial and I know it's provocative, but at least I leave it up to the community to vote for it if they believe that's right or not. And given that, I think that almost it's really not that many. Out of 15,000 people, I think it's like 35 or 40 people who has claimed time-based black belt degrees, but they're all approved, by the community and voted to. We agreed that this is okay, and I think that is like I think that's a huge change in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm starting to think, whether you've intended it or not, it does seem that a lot of what your work in jiu-jitsu does kind of shake up the establishment, right? It's definitely going to ruffle some feathers. Do you think, is there something about that? Or so let's say, what's the most important thing that you've learned from doing that? Or maybe is there a key concept or philosophy that drives you to put those ideas out?
I don't think so. I just think it's like, I don't know. I've always been someone who just create a lot of things.
Okay.
What I absolutely despise is when people say someone should do something about this,
Yep.
IBJJF is shit. Someone should do something, Or I hate jiu-jitsu politics. Someone should make it different,
Mm-hmm.
That's like I think it should be illegal to say that unless and then even worse, when someone does something, then you should not be allowed to complain about it unless you were the one taking the initiative,
100% on that one.
And I've always been like, it's always been kind of natural for me to kind of make things happen, or build things or create things. And this is also a workshop that I've been doing a workshop about this at the camps for 2.5 years. We just filmed it for the first time ever, and it's on its way to YouTube, called Create Something. Anyway, it's always been kind of natural for me to create a lot of things, and then you see that once you start doing that, you realize, oh, it's actually not that difficult to try and create something that's different. Mm-hmm. Because very often you're like, oh, I guess it has to be like this because that's what we always did, and that's how everybody thinks it's supposed to be. So if I do something new, it should be the exact same. And it's actually kind of it's something you can just learn to do, like just practice doing things a little bit different and see how people react. It's like, so Globetrotters is just a different take on affiliations. My academy was a different take on academies, and Beltchecker is a different take on building a community verification. And there's really no risk. I mean, if people did not agree with Beltchecker, they would just not use it, and they would not. Yep. They would not. I mean, they wouldn't sign up for it all the time. And the same with Globetrotters. If people think, oh, I should definitely not travel to train with someone that's not part of my team, then nothing would have happened. It just would have done something else. But you can always try. And I think it's important. I mean, someone's got to do it at some point. Shake up how things are done, and just see, maybe we should start thinking about things differently. And if Jiu-Jitsu belt verification is controlled by a private company and all based on scanned forms with signatures through like a kind of a chain mail thing, then maybe there is an alternative. Who knows? And for now, it kind of works. I'll be really curious to see how Beltchecker looks in like 5 years. If it keeps going, this could be a huge thing, and it's really built by the community. I mean, I know my name is kind of on it in a way. I try not to be too much the face of it, but there's a bunch of people who are doing a lot of the development at this point. We have someone doing like a mobile app for it that's in testing right now, and there's like more than 20 people have helped with translations. So it's really just built by the community for the community. So, and I think that would be the only way to fight the dragon or the lion, should I say? Yeah.
Which, I mean, a lot of the best things on the internet are community driven. Wikipedia, of course, comes to mind.
Yep.
And it seems like then you're just trying to create things to solve common gripes that you might hear people complain about. And in the jiu-jitsu world, those things have been politics and belt verification.
Yeah, definitely. And also like fear of missing out on life. I kind of tried to fix that through doing camps and stuff. And so I think it's very much about the perspective of seeing problems or annoyances. I mean, often if you see a problem or something that annoys you, then you just see a problem. But you can also see an opportunity to try and come up with a different solution. And I think like people are annoyed by jiu-jitsu politics or not being able to make friends, or they're annoyed by build verification or the IBJJF or how competitions are run. And if you see that as like opportunities waiting to be picked up, then there's quite a lot that you could get out of that, and who knows where that's going to lead you. Yeah.
And a big thing I like to emphasize now, there's a little list called the Cult of Done Manifesto that some people with names I can't remember off the top of my head wrote, but it's just a thing of just like a list of 10 points of just trying to basically just get things done, put them out there, publish your work, and then move on. And there's one thing on there that I always have to think of whenever I'm trying to do something, which is that it's simply doing something makes you right. Whereas if you're having an argument with a person who hasn't done something and they're arguing about if you've done it right or wrong, if you did it, you're right. Just forget about it and keep going.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've run into that so many times. So many times. It's so easy to take the initiative to tell other people to take initiative. Someone should do something. This should be done better. It's like you can either just keep complaining like that all of your life, or you can actually try to change things.
Yeah. So
if you think something is annoying or a problem, then probably other people do too. So if there's a solution, it's right there, to pick it up.
So you said you've got a talk then, I guess, expanding kind of on those topics a bit more, that's going to come out onto the YouTube channel, which I'm a big fan of your channel. which are all the seminars that are put on now are filmed and uploaded onto the Globetrotters channel? Is that?
Yeah, we have, nothing counts this year, obviously, but we aim for having we have two professional camera guys at every camp, and they film as much as they can, during the week, and then we put it all online for free.
Yeah.
And we do quite a many also like off the mat workshops. And one of them that I've been doing is I named it Create Something. And it's just, I've done this for 2.5 years, and I've been holding back on filming it or writing about it for so long because I constantly feel like I had to improve it. But I also think now is the time now is a good time to maybe inspire people to be creative or stuff like that. And so I was like, fuck it, let's try to film it and see how it goes. And it's a little over 2 hours of me just talking. But I really like it. It's interesting. It's been kind of me trying to look back at what I've been doing differently in terms of just creating things and making things happen, in a sense. Because I think up until I started doing that workshop, I was very much in denial that I ever did anything out of the ordinary. And the workshop has been kind of a process for myself to try and analyze in a way, like, what have I been doing differently, and why do I create more things than other people, and are there any common denominators in this? And then also me kind of talking to other, I call them super creators, and see if that kind of matches my theory. And this workshop is all of my theories in how I make all these things happen.
Okay.
And, it should be online within a few days.
Oh, awesome.
Fucking nervous about it. First time I ever put that out in public, but it'll be interesting.
I'll definitely watch it all and upvote and all the good stuff. And it seems like you kind of, where you found the common denominators in jiu-jitsu to make some simple games and drills, you kind of did the same process then for this talk to find the common denominators between creating things?
I never thought about that, but yes, absolutely, 100%.
Hey, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So
okay,
it's because I've learned jiu-jitsu through teaching it since a white belt, and I can teach jiu-jitsu with my eyes closed, but I've never taught this, whatever it is, the skill of making things happen. And so it started as a very rough, very rough diamond, that I've been polishing for 2.5 years and talking about it every camp. And yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know where that's gonna take me. I'm definitely not planning to become like a life coach or anything. Of course, already as a black belt, you are a certified life coach. But I might write a book at some point, when my kids are older and I have more than 5 minutes of quiet time. So
that's I mean, you've already written one, so why not? You got to.
Yeah, for now it's a video.
Yep.
And we'll see if people like it, or if anyone even want to watch a 2-minute video of me just talking. So 2 hours.
2 hours. Well, I hope so. And then so where do you see now Globetrotters going forward? Current pandemic conditions taken out of the equation, because who knows? No one knows what anything's going to be like going forward. But where do you kind of see the organization going? I mean, I'd love to get to a camp one day, and I'm really enjoying the content that you guys putting out on YouTube. But is there just keep going on the same track, or where do you see things heading?
Well, I have no plans, and I never had a plan with it. So
yeah,
I think it's kind of it's an organism of its own. It's what I call an idea vehicle in my workshop, and I just feed it. I just feed it ideas and karma and like nice things and people, and then I just see what happens. So my approach is kind of the opposite of having goals. I have no goals. I just trust that I kind of planned a lot of little of things, and then some of it will grow into something. And it's ideas, skills, karma, people, experience. That's what I just throw in the machine, and then I see what it grows into. And I don't know honestly what's happening in 6 months or 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah, okay.
You're gonna have to refer to my workshop for more details on that.
No doubt, it's a good plug. It'll probably be out by the time this episode gets out, so people listening will probably be able to go listen to it.
To search on YouTube for Create Something Globetrotters or something.
Yep, I'll put a link in that as well. So yeah, I mean, I've had a great conversation. I mean, I've spoken to Preet Mickelson, Chris Paynes from Globetrotters. They've been very great to talk to as well. So I think you guys, from what I can see from over here in Australia, you guys got a little good thing going over there in Europe.
Yeah, I just try to involve as many people as possible, and then build a social club. It just this one just got a little bit out of hand, It started to involve quite many people. We filmed a documentary last year on behind the scenes on the camps.
That's right.
And,
It's coming out soon. Yeah.
It was supposed to premiere this summer at the biggest camp. That got postponed until a few weeks ago. That got postponed as well, and it's actually finished. And I've watched it, and as I told Stevie, the guy we did it with, I watched it alone in the kitchen in underwear, eating chocolate, and I was clapping and crying and laughing at the same time. And we just really want people to see it, but on the other hand, it's such a big project. We think it deserves a proper kind of event, proper premiere,
Yep.
red carpet, everything,
You gotta have the podium pictures, the red carpet pictures right?
You need that. Yeah, you need that.
You can't do a movie without the red carpet. I mean,
but if we just put it online now, people would just sit at home, watch it in their bed or something, and then get all excited, and then it's lockdown. Fuck that, I can't go anywhere. Yeah, fizzle out. So
that's true. I mean, I guess that kind of the ceremony or whatever, it does kind of mark a special moment in people's memories.
There's many hundreds of people involved in it, and involved in that story from last year, and we want it to be something special, So we're going to hold it. For now, we have a big camp in Estonia in end of April, so we hope that we can have it there. But let's see.
It's crazy times. Who knows what's going to happen next, eh?
No matter what, it's going to be online for free to watch. So
excellent. More stuff for me to spend my days watching. Well, Christian, it's been a great chat, mate. I really appreciate you giving me some time out of your day in the beautiful place of Italy.
Stuck in a castle like a princess. Just trying to grow my hair long enough so I can get a...
I'm sure there's worse places to be stuck. I'm sure you could be in the woods with the yoga teacher.
Yeah, fuck that. Sleeping in the car.
All right, mate. Well, you take care, and I'll be in touch, and have a great day.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling, man. It was a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Christian. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Sonny Brown Breakdown. Until next time, you can visit sonnybrown.net to find out more ways to break it down.